had an incredible day today. It's been awesome to see all the energy happening throughout the platform and to hear all of the incredible feedback that folks have. And I know that this is wrapping up the end of the day, so we hope that you have a little bit more energy to hear from this amazing panel that we've put together today to do exactly what Marty said, talk about reshaping the future of work through breakthrough policies and innovation. And so I want to give a quick intro to the panel, kind of what we'll cover, why we're here, and really just the end to a really incredible day for this amazing community. So to start off, I'd like to introduce the panel. First and foremost, I'd like to introduce Brooke Markovicius, who's the founder and CEO of Alibi, which is a market platform for women to connect to gig work and to get paid for their expertise, all while making a positive impact on the world and supporting small businesses. Brooke, I'm so excited to have you here. When I started doing research on what you've built, where you came from, and how Alibi came to be, I was so amazed by the work that you did and kind of leaving Postmates and starting a co-working space and realizing surrounding yourself with a group of really incredible working mamas, what it meant, like how you could create this marketplace so that we don't have to leave the workplace and that we can be the amazing mamas and manage our homes and our lives and also continue to be paid for the incredible work that we can contribute to the world. So happy that you're here, Brooke.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Dirk Dobler. Dirk's the founder and CEO of Parento, the first provider of paid parental leave. Parento is the go-to resource for employers to support their working parents. This is incredible. In kind of communities and jurisdictions where we don't have paid leave, it's an opportunity to supplement your existing benefits programs for your employees so that they can go and be parents and not worry about losing pay or losing their jobs. And I love the perspective that Dirk brings to the table. As people leaders in the space, we always wonder, because we're not a revenue generating function within a company, it's always hard to make the value proposition to continue to spend on different programs. And I love that Dirk comes with the background in the finance world. So he already knows the questions that your finance leaders are going to ask you when as people leaders and as operators, you're going and saying, hey, this is really important to our employees. This is really important for us to keep folks in the workplace. So Dirk, can't wait to hear your thoughts on our panel today and what Parento is doing to kind of really shift the paradigm out there in the world. And finally, Gretchen Shirley. I'm so excited for her participation on the panel. She's the founder and CEO of Vote Mama. It is the first political action committee devoted to supporting progressive mamas running for office from school board to Senate, as she said, which is amazing. Some of you may know she had a historical run for the 2nd Congressional District in New York, and she petitioned the FEC to be able to use some of her campaign finance funds to finance childcare so that she could focus on running an incredible campaign for office. So all of you, super excited to have you here. I'm just really excited to dig into it. So welcome. We had a great opportunity to kind of meet in advance and collectively come up with what our hopes were and what we want you all to be able to take away from our short time together today. And we came away with really 3 things. The first, we want you all to recognize that every single one of you can be an advocate for better caregiver support. And that when you walk away from this panel, you'll be able to head back into the world, ready to use your own power to advocate for stronger support for caregivers in your workplaces and your communities. And ultimately, to come to this realization, oftentimes we get heads down into what we're working on. And this is really a chance for you to walk away saying, I'm a worker, I'm a voter, I'm a consumer. And that we have power in each of these areas, and we have ideas that we can take back and say, you know what, the one thing that I don't have as a caregiver is I don't have a lot of time. So how can I leverage what I've learned today to make an impact immediately after this panel, and obviously after this entire day of incredible best practice sharing and thought leadership on where we stand today. So those are the 3 things we hope you'll take away. And I'm going to get started on the questions, y'all. So hopefully you're ready. So you all have created incredible organizations doing hugely impactful work for working parents and caregivers across the country. I'd love to hear what your founder origin story is and kind of how you identified the need for policy and innovation in this space. Whoever would like to go first. Yuba?
Okay. Hi. My founder story. So I ran for Congress in 2018 against Peter King on Long Island, and I was not planning on running. I had a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old at that point, and I jumped into this race without childcare lined up. And usually, there's no playbook for how to run for office, but there is really no playbook for how to do it with young kids. And my mom is a teacher, and she would come home at 3:30 every day, but I would have them, all day, every day on the campaign. I would literally be giving speeches with Nicholas and the RAP nursing and during call time with the two of them running around. And it's a very different experience when you run for office as a mom with young kids. People don't take you as seriously. Voters don't, press doesn't, donors don't. And you have more things to overcome than even, women with older children running for office. And we built this incredible campaign. And about 6 months into it, I realized that I really needed at least some part-time childcare. And I put a request into the Federal Election Commission. And I said, can I use some of my campaign funds for childcare? And honestly, everybody told me it was political suicide. They said, you will be attacked as a mother. Don't even think of doing this. But there is a very real reason that we have so many millionaires in Congress. You have to be independently wealthy to give up your salary for a year and a half or 2 years and also pick up the cost of childcare. And so without that ruling, I wouldn't have been able to continue my campaign. To my surprise, it was a unanimous bipartisan decision. Every news outlet covered it, including Fox, which said it was the one bipartisan thing they could agree with. And it changed the way that people run for office. We saw 9 federal candidates taking advantage of that ruling in 2018. 46 have now, more than 60 state candidates. And the second my campaign was over, all I could think back to was the very beginning and what support I really needed. And the thing that got me through my campaign was building the relationships with all of these other incredible moms who had run for office with young kids, who are serving in Congress right now with young kids. Those relationships, that network, made it possible and made it so much easier to have somebody. And I feel like that's something that so many people have talked to, just knowing that other people are going through it and having that network and having someone to reach out to is so critical. And I launched Vote Mama back last January. We've supported over 100 moms running, but we endorse, we mentor, we coach, we train, we fund. And we're building this network of moms because you need to be able to talk to somebody else who's been through it before. So it really came out of necessity because there are so many incredible organizations that support moms running for office, that support women running for office. But by the time we're 44 years old, 86% of American women are moms. So if we're not supporting moms, we're not supporting the vast majority of American women. And we need to get more moms in office at all levels of government. We need people with that lived experience.
Thanks, Yuba. Dirk, I'd love to hear your story.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks. So, as she mentioned, Parento is really the first and only company out there that provides a paid parental leave insurance directly to companies that allows them to offer up to 16 weeks of fully paid parental leave to both moms and dads, whether it's a birth, adoptive, or foster placement. And I came to this problem because kind of an interesting way. I'm not actually a parent. I don't have kids, but what I do have is some experience on the finance side of businesses. I actually used to be the CFO of a woman-founded business in the sexual wellness space. And while I was there, I gained a more personal perspective of the challenges that women face in society and in work, and came to the realization that it's actually also the finance side of the business that's preventing companies from offering paid parental leave rather than the HR side. And so I realized that this massive issue that's facing working women particularly is driven by the finance side that needs a financial solution. It needs someone that can speak directly to the CFO, who's oftentimes a man and oftentimes doesn't have the same experience, getting them to understand the value proposition of offering paid parental leave and support to both moms and dads, but particularly what it can do for them if they're offering it to mothers. And so my perspective has been that the lack of paid parental leave is one of the biggest issues out there. And if we can solve this and just adding more money into solving this problem, we can make a huge dent in the challenges facing working mothers. And so that's really kind of what we want to be is the go-to solution to help companies solve the motherhood penalty and challenges facing working parents.
That is so incredible. Thank you, Dirk. And I'm sure you're going to have more to add around product and innovation and just things that we bring through our own lived experiences in what we're building, which is so critical. Brooke, want to round us out on this question?
Sure. So I actually originally started in the nonprofit world and as a teacher. And then I got pretty burnt out and I decided to go into tech where I thought that I would have a little bit more flexibility in my life and be able to do something that I would enjoy. I'd always been the techie person helping out in the companies that I was working in and helping businesses kind of find the solutions that they needed. And so I got my master's in computer information systems from Boston University and graduated and got a job at Postmates when it was pretty new. I was one of their like around the 100th employee and really loved working there in that fast-paced environment of a startup and seeing the quick changes and iterations. But then I got pregnant with my daughter and went back to work really quickly afterwards. We were launching a lot of new areas and it wasn't the long amount of time that I had hoped for or thought that I really needed. And so I quit my job with not really a full plan, but I just knew that if I was going to hustle, I wanted to hustle for myself. And so I started freelancing and did freelance web design and project management for a lot of early stage startups and small businesses that were predominantly run by moms, and started to really fall in love with that group of women and saw how entrepreneur they were and the amazing things they were bringing into the world. And so when a good friend of mine approached me about starting a co-working space for moms, specifically moms that were freelancing, I dove into that and loved that experience. And what led from that was really what we've built today called AllowBe, which really is a place for moms and caregivers of all different backgrounds to come and get flexible work on their time, their schedule, to be able to still have that foot in the door of the workforce, but not have to take on all of those responsibilities. Because really most companies, as we've heard from many things today, do not have that accessibility for moms to be able to have a flexible life. And so until we have that, we have AllowBe. And then one other thing that we hear a lot of people ask us is, do people really care that they're buying from a mom or they're buying, getting work done by a caregiver? And my response is always, well, they should, because so many people are leaving the workforce and need work. And so if we're not caring about who we're buying from and using our dollars in the right way, then we're not advocating. So that's my encouragement for my origin story, is put your money, into a caring capacity.
Incredible. Such talented and amazing folks. It's really a privilege and an honor to be having this conversation with y'all. I think as we kind of set out to have the conversation, we wanted to acknowledge and recognize, which I know has happened throughout the course of today, that there's a growing trend, particularly now amidst the pandemic, that working mothers in particular and also caregivers are leaving the workforce in greater numbers, and we're stepping down from their roles, taking part-time roles, taking less responsibility in their positions. And I think this begs the question, there's been a lot of, calls to action throughout the day around how employers can be more proactive in this space. And I think I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts on how can companies develop family-friendly support for parents and elder caregivers, or adapt existing policies with a lens which is more inclusive to expand to caregiving. Brooke, I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. So especially as someone who left a job because there was that lack of an environment that was willing to adapt to it, I was pumping in my car and in the bathroom because there was no physical place to be able to have that flexibility for myself as a new mom. But oftentimes, I think the biggest thing that I've seen in talking to so many people that come to work for AllowBe and why they've left their jobs is they just didn't feel the support from management. And so it doesn't have to be this huge policy change that needs to go into an action all the time. It's that empathy, it's caring that somebody is leaving and taking some time off to raise a human and to grow them. And I think that some companies are doing a lot better job of this, but I think as a manager, as even if you're talking to your spouse or partner, having them take the leave that they do have, like stepping into that, I talk about this, that I've told this a lot to Eve Radsky, but my husband, he took all of his leave both times. We're both lucky he works in tech too. And he took his 3 months and his 5 months. And we're so thankful that he did, because I didn't get that as in my jobs. And so we were able to have a lot more supportive environment, but he also had people on his team that didn't take any of the leave. And so you really have to step into that. And even if you're not the mom or the caregiver that needs the time off, like, claim that time and show how important and valuable it is, and speak up for the people on your team. So it doesn't have to be a big policy change. It can also be just you taking action yourself.
I kind of wanted to chime in here too. I think having had the opportunity to be the people leader at GitHub and now consulting with a number of early stage startups on what this is, I think, Brooke, your point's well taken. It really starts with the mindset. And I think, at least in my space, and you having come from it in Postmates, it tends to be a traditionally, at least when I started out, a younger workforce where it wasn't on the minds of leadership to even think about providing benefits or integrating this way of thinking into policies or the cultural kind of philosophy of the workplace. And it took somebody like me, pregnant with my child, my third child at 3 months, entering GitHub saying, hey, I realize I'm only one of 5 parents here, but the whole philosophy of butts in the chairs and needing to work an 8 to 5, like, doesn't work for parents. And so it's really about creating a workplace that invites folks to bring themselves to work, and to all the things from the kids running into the cameras to being able to work off hours, to utilizing tools such as Slack and other communications channels to be like heads down doing caregiving duties. That has to be the norm and the acceptable practice, so that we can get to sporting events in the afternoon or do drop-offs at school when we go back to school. These are small things that you can start doing. It's about having that lens and that voice at the table to really set the tone and the culture for the workplace. So I really appreciate that. Brooke. Dirk, do you have any thoughts on this question?
Yeah, one of the things that we've kind of actually discovered is when we talk about paid parental leave with companies, it's one of the most important things that they can offer, but it now means that they're putting a lot of money behind this employee. You're paying an employee not to work for 3 or 4 months. You can leverage that as a way to say, look, you just pay this employee to do nothing for you for 4 months. Let's make sure we actually add a little bit more to make sure that they're getting what they need when they return, so that they stay, that this employee doesn't come back for 3 months and then quit. You just paid a lot of money for that. And so we try to use that as a jumping off point for them to invest just a little bit more money. So it doesn't cost the equivalent of 4 months of paid time off to help with daycare or ongoing parental support or advisory service or what have you. And so I think that that's a way for employees and HR to kind of build that financial argument as to why the company should continue a little bit more, even though they may have already paid all this money. And I think that there's so much inertia already in the existing benefits and policies that are there, and the pandemic's kind of upending that. And we can leverage now to kind of change their minds around things, but also leverage that financial incentive that companies are maybe starting to put in place to encourage them to invest just a bit more.
Can I just jump in here for a second?
Yes, please.
Everything that you guys are talking about in terms of let's change this. Everyone has been talking about this over the day, like things that employers can do, things that people in the private sector will do to make it easier.
Mm-hmm.
And everything you just said, Merritt, there are so many schedules that don't work for parents with young kids. And there are so many ways we can make it more flexible. It's what we need in the government. Because one of the main reasons that we have women not getting into leadership positions until they're in their 60s and 70s is not just that they're looked, not that it's a different perception when you run for office, but it's harder to get moms to want to run for office. When you talk, watch out, baby. When you talk to a woman and you try to get her to run for office, they usually say you have to ask her 7 times before she considers running. If you have young kids, you have to be asked like 35 times before you consider running. And one of the main problems is the schedule of serving in a federal seat, because you are expected to be down in DC 4 days a week. Then you're expected to be working 3 days a week in your district. When are you supposed to see your children? And Kirsten Gillibrand is always, she's the first person who will tell you, if you don't move your family to DC, you will never see your kids. And yet it's so frowned upon if you don't keep your kids in the district. But then if you want to be a present parent, and this is both for moms and dads, what are you supposed to do? You want to run for office, you want to serve your community, but you also want to be there for your children. So we need to have those same flexible options that we're talking about in corporate America, also on the government side, so that we do get people who know what this is like, because we live it every day, to serve in office. We need those voices, and we need to make it more flexible for working parents to serve in office.
I agree 100%. And I know that a lot of folks in this community, we have conversations talking about, we sit here and say, what can we as corporate America do? I think, corporate America, obviously it's capitalism. We're trying to, revenue generation at these companies. We really need the government to lead the way here too, to create these policies, to, like you said, lead the way in supporting working moms to do these things and create policies that can positively impact and push the envelope even further at the corporate level. I agree 100%. I wanted to pivot a little bit, Luba, to kind of get to what you were talking about. We talk about the challenges, right? You just touched upon the challenges around getting more women elected to public office. And I guess, you talk about the barriers. We note here that you currently have 44 Vote Mama endorsed moms with elections on November 3rd. What can the community be doing? What can we be walking away from this panel to research, and how can we support these women? Because again, representation matters. So how can we support this?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have 44 candidates who have elections literally next month. I can't believe it's here already. There's a lot you can do. You can go to our website, just votemama.org, and learn about them. We've got candidates running from school board up to Senate, and these are women who are fighting to make a difference in our community. And I think one of the questions is, why do we need more moms in office? What is so important about supporting these women right now? We're 27th in education globally. We're 27th in healthcare. We are the only country in the world other than Papua New Guinea without paid family leave. We all know the childcare crisis. It's more expensive to send our infants to daycare than it is to send our teenagers to college. We have the worst maternal mortality rate in the developed world, and we have representatives who vote to take maternity coverage away from millions of American women. You need people at the table who get these issues and who are going to fight for them. And these are some incredible women, people like Candace Valenzuela, who's running in Texas's 24th, Chris Bubser out in California's 8th, Adair Burrows, who, when she gets elected, will be the first woman to serve at a federal level in South Carolina in 30 years. These are some incredible, incredible moms. And you can go to our website. You can sign up to phone bank for them. If you follow us on social media, we're literally doing an Elect This Mama campaign where every day we are showcasing one of our candidates. Sign up to phone bank. Throw them a quick contribution. Get involved. Get your friends involved. You can make a difference. Even if you don't want to run for office, you can be the boots on the ground to help get these moms elected.
Thank you so much. I'm like excited. I was getting chills as you were talking. I'm like, I want to go now. I love it. I think like we said, we wanted to talk about, how do we get more women elected? How do we create more innovative, inclusive policies in the workplace? And I think, what I've learned through researching all of you and what you have developed in your own worlds is really like the pace of innovation and kind of the product development around supporting working families, working mamas, caregivers. And so I guess I'd like to put it out there to you all. What can we be doing to move innovation forward and product development forward to create, to utilize this innovation to support working moms and working families?
So, sorry, do you want to go there?
No, you can go ahead.
Whoever can go first.
Okay. I have been listening to everybody talk all day and getting really excited about all of these incredible businesses that are trying to address this crisis that we have in this country. Other countries don't have these problems. Other countries are not having caregiving and work summits where we have all of these amazing entrepreneurs talking about how they're trying to address this gap, because they have governments that actually invest in them. If we had similar labor force participation rates to countries like Canada and Germany that have quality, affordable childcare, subsidized childcare, paid family leave, real paid family leave for a year, then we would actually have 5.5 million more women in our workforce. We'd have $500 billion a year more in our economy. Everyone knows we're losing $57 billion a year because of the lack of childcare, even before the pandemic. Finally, people are now starting to pay attention and realizing that childcare is an economic issue, is an infrastructure issue. What can we do? We need to change who has a seat at the table, and we need to change these policies. It's wonderful that all of these organizations are trying to address this, but the reality is so many other countries don't have to have this group of entrepreneurs trying to address this issue because their government actually invests in this. Childcare should be a public good the way that kindergarten through high school is a public good. And until we start to look at that and actually invest in that, we're going to still have to have these summits and talk about what we can do. We shouldn't be the ones talking about what we should do. Our government should be the ones talking about what we can do. We need to have federal investment in this. Sorry, that's just my rant on why we need to change this. This is completely flawed.
I'm snapping twice below my table. So yes, totally agree. Could not agree more. Dirk, you wanted to jump in?
Yeah, I'll go. So in the meantime, until we get federal spending on this, but what can companies and people do? One of the issues that we kind of run into when we're talking to organizations is a lot of what HR does when it comes to how do we support families or how do we support employees, what benefits do we add? They're not doing it in a way that you typically might see marketing or product development approach a challenge that they're trying to serve for their clients, who would ask, deeper questions, trying to understand the issues. HR is oftentimes asking employees what they want or what they need, and then you're expected to say what you want. But that's not how innovation has ever come about. That's why marketing and product development don't ask, what do you need? And they dive deeper into deeper questions and they try to analyze what's happening. And I think if you ask only what people need, you're not going to necessarily get the most innovative solutions. We know that, but you're also not going to get the most out of some solutions that are there. If you're just saying, well, our parents need childcare and support, so here's a backup care solution, and that's it. But what is really the driving factor for each parent and each family and each employee? What are those different situations? And understand at a deeper level, that would make a huge difference for your caregivers and your parents. You actually understand the driving factors behind the situation. And for example, we see a large rise in financial wellness and mental health investment right now because of the pandemic, and we're all stressed because of the pandemic, and mental health benefits can help with that. But what are some of the other driving factors that mental health that are causing the stress that companies can do to provide support, like that flexible hours and remote work, and obviously can make a difference. But what other benefits are out there that can make a difference that are going to solve some of those drivers of stress and anxiety that your mental health providers are just helping you figure out how to deal with?
Brooke, I'd love to hear your thoughts to kind of round out this question.
For sure. I'll speak to the fact that obviously until there's more moms in office, I feel like we're looking at a long road and probably lots more summits, like you said. But one thing that I think that everybody can do, and I mentioned this before, but put your dollars in the right place. And also more people need to be investing in parent tech and people tech that are really caring about what is going into solving these solutions, and not just solving at the corporate level. I think it needs to be trickling down. Our company focuses majority on small businesses, early startups, and entrepreneurs because we see so much value in that group of people, and they're not getting the support in other places. And we definitely don't have the money or the finances as early companies to pay for childcare, but we have to build our flexibility and our work around what we're building and what we're doing. And I know many of you guys understand that have been here today. But one thing that we can do, even if you're not an investor, you can make intros for people. You can help bring people into your network that are working on these solutions and these wonderful things. A shout out to Blessing and her team, and to Blessing herself. She brought me into her fold, and we were able to communicate and support. And so collaborate with one another, because it takes everybody that was here today and a whole bunch of other people. And we've been getting everybody into office that are moms. It's going to take all of us to make this big change. So I really encourage you to, use your social capital, use your actual capital, and put it where it should be going, because that's the only way we're going to make this change. So go and vote, use that power, go and use your time power to get on those phone banks. I'm excited. I'm going to go sign up and do that, and really make a change in any way that you can. You don't have to just be making these actual policy changes. It can seem kind of scary and far out there, but I got fed up with waiting for corporate America and startups to change. So I took it upon myself. And I always tell people that I hope someone does put Allobee out of, business, that everybody has a flexible job, and, it's really easy for moms to get work, but I feel like we're a long way off, but we all need to come together to make a difference.
I could not agree more, and we are about at time. I just think I wanted to close out and kind of add my 2 cents here, and that is for those of us that are operators inside of companies and have the ability exactly to invest in these people tech and fam tech solutions to change the workplace, to amplify the voices, to bring those voices to the table if they're not there. That is our power. I take it really seriously personally. In addition to everything that the panelists have said, we have the ability to lift one another up. And so my invitation, in addition to the 3 things that we shared that we hope that you'll take away, is that you'll utilize that networking function if you use it today on the platform, and that you'll walk away today and network with at least 3 to 5 people and see how you can help to strengthen and build their business, because when we all kind of rise up together and lock arms together, we rise together. So thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you for your expertise and the incredible work that the 3 of you are doing in the world to effectuate change. And it's just been an honor and privilege to sit alongside you. So thank you all so much.